Dolphins Today is live. Thanks so much for tuning in, however you're accessing today's show. Thanks for making it a part of your day. Fired up to be with you. Always look forward to Wednesdays for a live edition of Dolphins Today. And boy, do we have a lot to get to. It seems like the NFL offseason really ramps up when we begin the NFL scouting combine. But as always, let me know where you're watching from. Want to shout out some cities right away because, as I mentioned, Wednesdays are always the best day of the week because we are live on the channel. Tons to get to on this live edition of Dolphins Today. So let me know where the real ones are watching from, starting with the one and only Sherry May. Sherry May, it's awesome and appropriate that you're the first one to comment because we're just talking about Sherry May in our live meetings. Always the realest of the real, always commenting. We need more Sherry Mays on Dolphins Today. So the rest of the Dolphins Today faithful, take note from Sherry May. Shout out to Sherry May. Who else we got watching? Gavin's watching. Tim B. What's up, Tim B? You were also mentioned in the live meeting. That should be noted as well. Sherry May from Florida Space Coast. Scotty B in Scottsdale, Arizona. Scotty Beesdale is Scottsdale. That's my guy. Shout out to you over on the West Coast. And Scottsdale, coincidentally, happens to be very, very close to where today's producer got wild in college. And when I say wild, that doesn't even begin to account for what this young man did during his college days. Please welcome today's producer, the one and only Jack Lauderay. What's happening, Jack Lauderay? And look, Jack will not brag about this, so I will brag for him. It's NFL Scouting Combine Week, and this guy has been nose to the keyboard, grinding, putting up graphics, producing his ass off, not just for Dolphins Today, but for the Chat Sports main channel, every other channel. You look up grind in the dictionary, you might see a picture of Michael Jordan. You might see Reggie Miller. But no, I see Jack Lauderay. That's the guy. Jack, how you feeling, man? I know you've been through a lot this week.
I'm good, man. It's a good week. Scouting Combine, a lot going on. Chris Greer spoke today. We're going to talk about that. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I was going to wait to bring up Chris Greer because I know Dolphins fans don't necessarily love our guy Chris Greer, and I think he's got a lot to prove in this upcoming draft because you look back at the Chris Greer picks, and there's been a lot more swing and misses than there have been home runs or, hell, even doubles, singles, triples, whatever baseball analogy you want to make. Really, the only home run from Chris Greer's draft that I can think of in recent memory is Devon Achane, but anyways, we are definitely going to get into Chris Greer's comments at the NFL Scouting Combine, but it brings me to my first question as I was thinking about today's show, thinking, where do I want to begin? And when I talk to different people, everybody seems to have a different take on the NFL Scouting Combine. Everyone's either, I love it. It is so intriguing. I love watching the guys run the 40-yard dash, the 5-10-5, the L drills, and other guys that will say, it's a nothing for me. It is boring. They're out there in their underwear. Football's not played in your underwear. I want to see them get the pads on. I want to see what someone looks like doing an Oklahoma drill or maybe some one-on-ones. I don't want to see these guys in gym shorts and stopwatches and bench presses and everything else. So let me know where you're at. What's your interest level in the NFL Combine? 1, you absolutely hate it, does nothing for you. Let the scouts do their thing, do the interviews, this, that, and the other. Or 10, I love the combine. I can tell the player I want to draft. I can tell what they are as an individual through the interviews. I can see what they look like in the important drills, get their measurables, get their medicals. Let me know where you're at, or maybe you're somewhere in the middle, a little bit of a vanilla spot at 5. Either way, let me know. We got more people joining us. Ralph Miller, shout out to you. Stop yelling. I will stop yelling. Ralph, that's on me. Just fired up to be with you, man. I will bring it down. I will bring it down a notch. And this is for Ralph, as we often do. We're going to bring the volume down, 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 down. Just kidding. Happy to be with you guys. Who else we got in here? Gavin from the Florida Cape Coral. Shout out to Gavin. Crazy Dolphin from the Sunshine State. Look, it was record temperatures all across the United States in the earlier part of the week. That was pretty awesome. And now it is very, very cold. Indeed, Jack, indeed. Jake Fletcher watching from Clintwood, Virginia. Shout out to the Virginia Cavaliers. Jacksonville, Florida champions watching 2038. Shout out Jacksonville. Who else we got in here? Tim B getting his Dolphins questions in already. Yes, we are going to get into that on our Ask Anything mailbag as we always do on Wednesday. But King Cadeno Shorts from York, Pennsylvania. We got some guys in the office repping the PA. I wonder if they know where York is in Pennsylvania. I've not been to York. I've been to Hershey, Pennsylvania. I've been to Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Slippery Rock, wherever that school is. I've been there. All right, fun time, Wolfie. Is Waddle being traded? Well, you can get your Ask Anything mailbag question in by using that hashtag Dolphins. So let me know when you use that hashtag Dolphins. We will answer it. But next, I want to get to our February promotions. It is not the last day of February. You look at the calendar, you see February 28th. You think maybe it's the last day. Not so fast, my friends. We've got a leap year, and that means one more day of February, but it is our last live show of February, so you'll want to get in on the Dolphins Hall of Fame helmet. We only got 2 helmet stickers on this, so plenty of room for more. Who wants to join Tim B and Kristen Reinhardt, 2 of the realest of the real, supporting Dolphins Today? Only will cost you $10, and then everybody that enters with that helmet sticker, that $10 helmet sticker, just like we did during the season, that serves as your raffle ticket. Now, this is going to last us all off season. We're going to continue to build up to it to get a lot of people in the pot for that Dolphins helmet giveaway. Next, just like we did in the regular season during our watch parties, our Venmo-only prize giveaway is a Dan Marino bobblehead, and I love bobbleheads. It is one of the best collector's item, a great commemorative item as well. Looks great on your desk, in your office. I think you could use it as the centerpiece in your dining room, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But the Venmo's on the screen there as well, and we're bumping it down. $10 only to enter, and there's not a lot of people in the pool right now, so your odds of winning are very, very good. $10 Venmo gets you a ticket to the Dan Marino bobblehead. And last, but certainly not least, our combined February MVP, our champion, combining the amount of Venmos and Super Chats, is going to receive a custom Dolphins jersey in your honor. We're going to make the Dolphins jersey just like we do with the Chad Jones one. Wear it on the show in your honor. That goes to the February MVP. So let's see where we are on the updated scoreboard standings. And here we go. Our Venmo leader, Kristen Reinhardt. You are the leader for that Dan Marino bobblehead. Our Super Chat scorebook has Sherry May at the top of the leaderboard with a Super Chat record for the month of February. You're the leader right now. Tim B and Herman J. Mortimer are right behind Sherry May. JB is in third place. So, as you can see on the screen there, there's room for more. And just wait. Is everybody sitting down? I believe this is some of the most influential, monumental news you will hear all day, so make sure you're sitting down for this. Drum roll, please. That's right. We have extended our promotional contest. We are going to keep it going to welcome more and more people from Dolphins Today to get in on the action. So yes, this is our last show in February, but not to worry. We're moving it back into March too, so more time to join our February promotions with these awesome giveaways. We got the Dolphins helmet right here. And look, I tried to use this in a one-on-one drill, not actually made for physical contact. This is, in fact, a replica helmet, but just like the Dan Marino bobblehead, it'll look good as a centerpiece on your dining room table, maybe in your fan cave. Whatever it is, this is going to look awesome, especially when we get it filled with Dolphins Today pride stickers on the helmet. You got to love it there. So, not to worry, everything's been extended so we can do our best to welcome more and more people within the Dolphins Today community. Champion 2038, how do we enter? Very good question. $10 Super Chat is all it takes to get your name on the Dolphins Today helmet, $10 super chat for the Hall of Fame helmet. For the February raffle of the Dan Marino bobblehead, that's a $10 Venmo. So if you want to get in on that, those are the two items up for grabs. And the third one, the February MVP, that's going to be extended into the February and March MVP, that's a sum total of whoever participates the most from the Hall of Fame helmet and the Venmo raffle. Does that make sense? I believe I explained it pretty well, but Jack, help me out. Did I explain that well? And you don't have to say I explained it well, just does it make sense?
I think it does. I think you got to the core of the issue.
All right, core, there it is. Look at the Dolphins logo. That's good stuff right there. One of the best. One of the best. Also, Stephen Ross the owner for the Dolphins, say he absolutely loves the current logo and that we're not switching back to the throwback logo. But the throwbacks will still continue to be worn periodically throughout the season. So
real quick
right
note.
There.
Tim B., can you buy more than one raffle ticket? Of course you can. You can buy as many raffle tickets as you want. So if you want to get in on that Hall of Fame helmet, $20 is 2 stickers and 2 raffle tickets. That's how it works. So you can buy as many tickets as you want.
We have no limit of helmet stickers. Let me hold them up. There you go. And then once we run out of the football ones, we'll switch to the orange ones. So don't you guys worry. We've got it covered. Now, I do want to talk about the NFL draft coming up as it relates to the scouting combine, because obviously our big board might shift a little bit from pre-combine to post-combine. So I want to get it started with your NFL draft prospects that you're the most curious about and the ones that you'll have your closest eye on during the combine. Maybe they'll jump up that draft board or maybe they'll plummet down. Either way, let me know down in the comments what NFL draft prospect are you most curious about as we head into the scouting combine. Ralph Miller, shout out to him. Glad to see you in the chat, my guy. Who we got? Tim B, thank you. Absolutely. Santiago Pasco. Who do I think will win MVP this season? Use that hashtag Dolphins and get in on the mailbag. And before we go any further, I want to thank today's proud presenting sponsor. Later, we will do that. I hear from Jack Lauderay. So that means we need to like today's video in order to get it started. You know how it works. We got over 60 people watching, but 20 likes. So we need to get at least to 50%. That means 30 likes before we can start today's video. And all you got to do to like the video, smash that like button. Doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out a ton. That's right. The likes, they mean a lot to us. We love the likes, you could say. And don't make the like police come on out. So, want to get started with some segments because we've got Chris Grier's comments to get into. We've got some major Dolphins rumors. We've got a Dolphins draft big board to get into. And as always, an Ask Anything Wednesday mailbag here on Dolphins Today. So if that sounds like a good plan to you, then let me know by liking today's video. And Jack, are we ready to go? 3 likes away. You know Jack Lauderay drives a hard bargain. We're not starting this video until we get 3 more likes. Who hasn't liked the video? I bet you Ralph hasn't liked the video. Ralph Miller, no chance has liked the video. I know Kelly Hutchinson has liked the video. Shout out to her in Bradenton. Who else we got? Oh, Franklin Stubbs. The Bahamas are in the house. There we go. Love to go to the Bahamas, especially when it's super cold out like it is today. All right. 1 like away. That's like starting the video with when you're 1 like away. That's like not finishing through the line. That's not what we do here on Dolphins Today. We finish through the line. We bend down. We touch the line. We grab grass. And there we go. We got to it. 30 likes. That's what I'm talking about. Now, we're ready to get into some segments on Dolphins Today. And away we go. The boss man, Chris Greer, the Dolphins general manager, addressed the media today. So we're going to break down those comments. And I know I'm wondering, as are you, what the latest are with the Tua Tagovailoa contract rumors and some of the trade talk that surfaced a couple weeks ago about Jaylen Waddle. Don't worry. That's right. Chris Grier addressed that as well. So buckle up, dial it in, and let's get to it. But before we go any further, I'm very curious the pulse from the Dolphins Today family on where we have Chris Grier stacked up as the Dolphins general manager so far. So let me know right away in the comments. Give him a grade, A, B, C, D, or F. Now, Chris Grier is a big fan of this show, so you give him an F, his feelings might be hurt a little bit, but I want you to be honest as well. If you think he's an A+, I mean, after all, he's gotten the Dolphins to back-to-back playoff appearances, but they haven't won any postseason games. I know what you're thinking. But anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments. Grade Chris Grier as the Dolphins general manager thus far. A, B, C, D, or F. I will tell you this. He's not doing as bad as his brother, Mike Greer, who's the general manager for the San Jose Sharks. Yikes. Am I right? Well, at least we got the better Greer in that sense. But let's talk a little bit about Tua Tagovailoa and his contract rumors and what's the latest and greatest around the Dolphins franchise quarterback. And yes, I said franchise quarterback because I love me some Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's capable of leading the Aqua and Orange. And Chris Grier seems to agree with me because the latest update has Chris Grier essentially saying a deal's going to get done. At least that's how I interpreted it. This is from David Fiones, one of the Dolphins beat writers, saying Miami Dolphins GM Chris Grier says the team and Tua Tagovailoa's representation are in communication on a long-term extension. I know that's going to make some people a little bit rattled, but Grier is hopeful the deal gets done and cites positive discussions but has no timeline. So essentially what we've been telling you for weeks. We think a deal's going to get done. They're making progress, but no exact timeline. And you can probably hear it in my voice. This fires me right up. I love it. Tua Tagovailoa is the Dolphins franchise quarterback. I hope he retires a Miami Dolphin, and I hope he leads the Dolphins to the promised land. They win a bunch of playoff games and ultimately hoist the Lombardi. So each and every one of you that were so negative and so mean to Tua Tagovailoa can suck it because Tua Tagovailoa possesses the ability to move the ball down the field. He led the NFL in passing yards. You pair him with an offensive genius like Mike McDaniel, and a 70-burger against the Denver Broncos in Week 3 is just a small fraction of what Tua Tagovailoa is capable. Look at the numbers from 2023. Led the NFL in passing yards, 4,624 passing yards. Oh, but Riepma, he was just a system quarterback. Well, not to worry. That's right. He was second in yards per attempt as well. 29 touchdowns compared to 14 interceptions. Now, I'll admit, even as Tua's biggest fan, I'd like to see that interception number go down and take what some deem as empty statistics and develop those into fruition into winning important games against good teams. But remember, it is a team sport. Football is the ultimate team sport. And I think things are in motion for the Miami Dolphins to take a significant step forward in 2024 and not only reach the postseason, but actually make some noise in the AFC. Now, next, there were some crazy rumors, and I hope you didn't at least put any stock into the conversation around Jaylen Waddle and trading Jaylen Waddle. But fortunately, the Dolphins general manager, Chris Grier, came out and said how ridiculous and ludicrous those rumors were, and that Jaylen Waddle is not going anywhere, which is great news for the Miami Dolphins, especially when you think about him and Tyreek Hill together, arguably one of the best wide receiver duos in the National Football League, especially since they accounted for more than 60% of the Dolphins' total receiving yards in 2023. Wow, that's quite a bit. But here's the official quote from Chris Grier. No thoughts of trading Jaylen Waddle. He'll be around here for a long time. So there you have it. Am I right? That's what we all wanted to hear. That's what we all thought. But now we hear it from the boss man himself. Jaylen Waddle's not going anywhere. And when you look at the body of work over the course of his first three seasons, that's right, 1,000 yards in each of his first 3 seasons. Very, very impressive. In 2023, he had 1,014 yards on 72 receptions. And some easy, quick math will tell you that's better than 14 yards per catch. Now, I would like to see the touchdown numbers go up a little bit. We can probably attribute some of that to Tyreek Hill scoring so many touchdowns and the Dolphins' struggles at time in the red zone. But point being, Jaylen Waddle is a part of this team's core moving forward, which is exactly what I wanted to hear from the Dolphins general manager. But I'll let you sound off in the comments. Would you trade Jaylen Waddle? It's real simple. Type N for no, or if you want to get as animated as I do sometimes, type HN for hell no, because I'm not even giving you the option of typing yes, because it ain't happening. So quit asking, all right? Now, in all seriousness, though, I think Jaylen Waddle is a part of this team's core moving forward, and I think he's a guy that you build around, especially considering he's on a rookie deal for another year. Now, some other notes that I took away from Chris Grier's addressing the media. He talked about the Xavier Howard decision to cut him and how much money that frees up, and ultimately attributed it to a business decision, which I think we all were of that same understanding, that cutting Xavier Howard was in fact a business decision. Former All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, but in my estimation, I just think he's a guy that's lost a step, and it was time to move on. Now, do I think he'll have some value in the open market? Absolutely. Do I think he might still have a year or two left in the tank? I don't know. He's getting a little long in the tooth. I'm not sure how much gas is left in the tank. Now, Chris Greer also discussed some flexibility in the draft, which is good because this is the Dolphins team who, picking at number 21, there's not necessarily that sexy pick out there. You got to retool the offensive line. You could also address the edge outside linebacker position. We'll talk more about that as the show progresses on today as well. And as it relates to the inside linebacker position, of course, new defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, calling the shots. Out with Vic Fangio, in with Anthony Weaver. That will certainly have an impact on the future of Jerome Baker and whether or not he'll be back with the Miami Dolphins. Because if you cut Jerome Baker, he's a guy that you could save quite a bit of money by cutting him. And we all know the Dolphins cap situation. He may, in fact, be a cap casualty. Now, up front, on the defensive line, Christian Wilkins. That's where the conversation for the Dolphins free agency usually starts with, because he's a guy that's coming off a breakout year. Career high, 9.5 sacks. Really impressive work from Christian Wilkins. And there's a couple of different options out there. Franchise tag, long-term extension, or let the guy walk and test the free agent market. I hope the Dolphins find a way to keep him in the aqua and orange, but Chris Greer said that nothing's off the table. All options are on the table for Christian Wilkins. And last but certainly not least, I hate that we even have to bring this up, but stop me if you've heard this one before. Tyreek Hill in the news, and yes, it's involving a woman. This one happens to be a particularly attractive Instagram model that apparently Tyreek Hill was upset that she beat him in football drills. You can't make this stuff up, really. It's on the internet, so it's got to be true. But the Dolphins are aware of the situation that Tyreek Hill is being sued for apparently going after this woman in some kind of football drill routine, but more on that coming up in a little bit. Want to thank today's proud presenting sponsor, the only ticketing app you'll ever need. That's the Game Time app that helps people like me out. What do I mean by that? I'm a procrastinator. I wait to the last minute, but not to worry. Game Time specializes in last-minute ticket deals. And by the way, if you hear nothing else, this is what you need to hear. They guarantee the lowest price out there. And check out the pictures on the screen. You know you're getting that high-definition picture, so you know exactly where you're going to be sitting at. They've got flash deals. They've got all-in pricing. No deception. It's the only ticketing app I use because it's the only one that you need. And not to mention, they guarantee the lowest price possible. So whether you're going to catch some spring training games, we got the Marlins season starting pretty good. The Panthers are one of the hottest teams in the NHL right now. Who doesn't love some playoff hockey? Let's play hockey. We also got the NBA season going on right now. The Miami Heat are going to make a run. So find your way to some live events by using that Game Time ticketing app, the only ticket app you'll ever need. I also forgot to mention concerts, live shows as well. Either way, we love you and we care about you here on Dolphins Today. So download the Game Time app. Use that promo code FINSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. That's right, not even kidding, $20 off your first purchase using the promo code FINSCHAT. And oh yeah, we love you and we care about you. So we'll put that link right in the comments and description of today's video. Download the Game Time app today for the lowest price, guaranteed. Terms to apply, $20 off. Use that promo code FINSCHAT. Now, let's get to some really good news, and I think really important news. The Dolphins report card from the NFLPA was way better than any report card I've ever gotten, probably more indicative of a Jack Lauderay report card because it was straight A's. That's right, the Miami Dolphins scored straight A's from the NFLPA. They far and away are the best team to play for. Make no mistake about it. Let's just break this down chapter by chapter. I would say the most important aspect of all this, the food in the cafeteria. I'm a guy that loves to eat. The Dolphins apparently have the best food in cafeteria in the National Football League. Sign me up. They've got the second best nutritionists and dietitians. Yeah, you know, those dietitians always telling you to eat healthy. But they get an A there as well. Locker room facilities, A. Third, training room, A. First, training staff, A-, which happens to be the best ranking in the NFL. The weight room, where a guy like me spends a lot of his time, that's an A+. They get the first best ranking there in the NFL. Strength coaches, they get an A, second best in the National Football League. Team travel, also the best in the National Football League. Mike McDaniel scored an A. Now, a lot of NFL coaches scored very, very highly, so that's the 8th best rating. And the ownership, that's right, Stephen Ross, founder of the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan, receives an A as well. An A+, the highest rank. He is, in fact, the highest rated owner. And just to break it all down for you there one more time, the Dolphins scoring A+, A+'s across the board, just like a Jack Lauderay report card that goes up on the refrigerator. So shout out to each and every member of the Miami Dolphins organization. And one more, Stephen Ross has been voted as the best owner in the National Football League in a player-led survey with a grade of A+. That's from Cameron Wolf. Fins up. So let me know, because I think this is really important. What's your one-word reaction to the NFLPA survey that ranks the Dolphins as the best team to play for in the National Football League? Let me know what you think down in the comments. For me, this is really satisfying because, in all seriousness, I think these things matter as it relates to free agency, as it relates to the other side of the business where players actually have to want to play for you. They have to want to play for your ownership. They have to want to enjoy being in Miami, and scoring this highly in every single component of the survey from the NFLPA can only bode well for your organization. So I think this is a major step in the right direction, and the timing is perfect as we embark upon the free agent period of the NFL offseason. So for me, very, very satisfying. Very curious what you think down in the comments. And oh yeah, the NFLPA president, J.C. Treader, said this: the Dolphins and Vikings were far above everyone else. So shout out to the Vikings as well. They were also very favorable in this NFLPA survey. Not quite as good as the Dolphins, but you get the point. The Miami Dolphins are the best team to play for in the National Football League. And I think players, free agents in particular, will certainly remember this NFLPA survey when it comes time to make some very, very important decisions. Now, lastly, want to wrap it up with the Tyreek Hill and the fact that he's in the news again. And it seems like it's one thing after another, and maybe some of them aren't his fault. Obviously, your heart goes out to him when his mansion burned down in the midst of the season, but it's always one thing after another with Tyreek Hill. And an Instagram influencer for this one, yeah, I know, that's a real job, an Instagram influencer, says that Dolphins Tyreek Hill broke her leg during a football lesson at his Broward home, which is just so bizarre when you think about it. Tyreek Hill is apparently hosting football lessons at his home. The lawsuit goes on to explain that Tyreek Hill was essentially had his feelings hurt when she was better at some of the drills than him, so he charged her. It's just a really, really bizarre story, and I think it's a developing story, so let's not make any initial, conclusions and let it play out and see what the news actually are. But overall, just very, very bizarre that Tyreek Hill is once again in the news for off-field issues. And so I'm asking you, what's your level of concern with the Tyreek Hill off-field news? Because again, it sounds a bit bizarre, but it's also one thing after another. So scale it for me, 1 through 10. Either way, let me know. I'll tell you where I'm at with this. It's a 5 because I want to get all the facts out, know exactly what the story is, and determine whether or not Tyreek Hill is in the wrong here. If the lawsuit goes through, if there's some sort of settlement, whatever it is, it seems like whenever there's smoke, there's fire. And this is another example of there being smoke around Tyreek Hill and another off-the-field issue that continues to be a part of Tyreek Hill's story moving forward as it relates to his time in the National Football League. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll make more of a conclusion then. But either way, Tyreek Hill is in the news once again, so let me know what you think. All right, we got our first super chat. And you know what? If I would have put betting odds on who the first super chat would have been, my favorite would have been the one and only Sherry May. How about Sherry May? A $10 super chat saying, put me on that helmet, please. An emphatic super chat to open the door. We will do exactly that, Sherry May. I was just told prior to the beginning of Dolphins Live from the Pod B extraordinaire himself, Marshall Gray, that I have very neat penmanship. So I will take that compliment and run with it. And Sherry May, we'll get you right on this helmet because you deserve it for your long-time support of Dolphins Today. How about that? All right. Sherry May is on the helmet. And you know what? That's big. Because, Jack Lauderay's all over it per usual. We got the scoreboard update in real time. Where else can you go to get real-time scoreboard updates? Live and on time, Jackson Lauderay, the best in the business. And there you go, Sherry May. Boom! Now we got 3 pride stickers on here. This is looking like Marshall Gray's NAIA helmet. 3 pride stickers his whole career. Shout out to Sherry May. All right. Sherry May takes the lead up to 25. Now, if anybody else wants to get on the Dolphins Hall of Fame helmet, it's a $10 super chat. You can get in on the February raffle by way of Venmo for that Dan Marino bobblehead. Gotta love Dan Marino. Jack, can we show you that Dan Marino bobblehead one more time? As an avid bobblehead collector, this is a piece I need. I've got 77 bobbleheads. Would love to make it 78, so I might have to Venmo myself. But Dan the man, the luscious locks, rocking the number 13. Who doesn't want that Dan Marino bobblehead? $10 to get in on that. And don't forget, our offseason MVP is getting a custom Dolphins jersey made in their honor for the show. So that's good stuff. All right, we got over 50 people watching, and I want to catch up on some of the comments before we bang out our next segment and we start talking about some Dolphins draft targets. So, curious people's concern with Tyreek Hill. Brennan Cole says, can you please put me on the helmet? Absolutely. For a $10 super chat, we can. Handsome Rangers watching in the Bahamas. Firefighter, welcome in, Firefighter 841. Always repping Iowa, the Hawkeye State. Or is it the Cyclone State? One or the other. All right. Before we go any further, quick shout out to Knox's Hymn. Hawkeyes, there you go, Firefighter 841. Big Hawkeye guy. Shout out Caitlin Clark, my favorite player in college basketball right now. All right, Jack, I think we're ready to go. Let's bang out that next segment because we are moments away from our top draft target. We've got some rumblings in the bullpen. Everything good? All right, Dolphins Today. I feel like Brick on Anchorman right now. I don't know what we're yelling about. I love Lamp. Hey, I want to remind you to subscribe and join the Noti Gang. That's right, there's nothing more prestigious than joining the Noti Gang of Dolphins Today. And I'm going to give you 3 easy steps to do so. First and foremost, you got to subscribe. So hit that subscribe button. And the next part is very important. So listen up. See that little notification bell? Yeah, you got to click that notification bell. And last but certainly not least, select all as your option because you don't want to miss a thing when it comes to Dolphins Today. We got you covered from every single angle. That's why you subscribe and join the Noti Gang. Now, let's get into our big board as it relates to the Miami Dolphins and their draft targets because as we know, that NFL draft is quickly approaching, and Chris Grier has a lot to prove because, in my estimation, his only home run pick in the last several years is Devon Achane, which is a good pick to have, but there's been more swings and misses than there have been home runs. So, Chris Grier, I know you're a big fan of the show. Listen up and listen good. I've got my top 10 Dolphins first-round targets unveiled for our Dolphins Today family. And as of now, the Dolphins are picking 21st in the draft, but there have been some rumblings of potentially trading up, trading back. Chris Grier said nothing's off the table. So let's get into it. My number 10 prospect, and I should have said this is kind of a combination of who I think will be available, best fits, best position of need, and so on and so forth as we work through these. But Brian Thomas Jr. is an intriguing prospect, and I've done a couple of Pro Football Focus mock drafts where they actually simulate who might be taken, and there's been times where Brian Thomas has been available at that number 21 pick. Now, big physical receiver at 6'5" out of LSU, and the 2023 stats speak for themselves. 17 touchdowns, a guy that had 68 receptions, and obviously in a prolific offense led by Jayden Daniels, you know the numbers would be there. But I think he'll be a guy that if he falls to 21 would be so tempting to grab for the Miami Dolphins. Because as I mentioned earlier in the program, the Dolphins have two of the best wide receivers in the National Football League in Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle. But after that, a complete and total fallout. Nobody else for this Miami Dolphins team in the 2023 season had over 300 yards receiving besides Jaylen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Those two combined for over 60% of the receiving total from a guy, Tua Tagovailoa, that led the NFL in passing yards. So imagine the possibilities if you pair a bona fide third wide receiver with Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle. And it is a little bit of a luxury pick because there are other positions of need. But as I mentioned, this is just throwing it out there. If he's available, it certainly would be very tempting for the Dolphins to grab Brian Thomas Jr. at number 21. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Make the call yourself. Who do you want the Miami Dolphins to draft at 21? And, of course, the Dolphins may, in fact, trade that pick. But wherever they go, let me know who you think the Dolphins should draft. Up next, we shift to the defensive side of the ball with Jerzon, a.k.a. Johnny Newton, the defensive tackle out of Illinois, reigning Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Now, close personal friend of mine, huge Illinois fan. I asked him about Johnny Newton, said the guy is a game wrecker. He wreaks havoc on the opposition. He's athletic from the defensive line position. And I would also add this. I like the idea of Johnny Newton in the first round if and only if you miss out on Christian Wilkins and you don't want to pay Christian Wilkins. And based on Chris Grier's comments today, I'm not either closer or further away from believing Christian Wilkins will be a member of the Miami Dolphins in 2024. So having Johnny Newton in the back of your mind from a defensive line prospect certainly makes a lot of sense if you're not able to franchise tag or re-sign Christian Wilkins. But I would, in fact, rather re-sign Christian Wilkins because based on what he means to this team as a vocal leader, you saw it on Hard Knocks, he's the heart and soul of that defense. He brings an edge, he brings a flair, he motivates others, and I just don't think you can ask a rookie in Johnny Newton to be able to do that. So give me Wilkins over Johnny Newton. Now, coming up, we're going to continue breaking down our Dolphins big board. We've got 8 more to go, but I want you to join us for our one-stop shop for all Miami Dolphins, everything you could imagine. Our current subscriber goal is 56,000. We're at 55,583 right now, and some quick, simple math will tell you we're 417 away. And of those subscribers, you got to join the Noti Gang. Because are you even a subscriber if you don't join the Noti Gang? I don't think so. Here are the 3 easy steps. Hit that subscribe button. Done. Next, you hit that bell. Click your notification bell and select all so you don't miss a thing on Dolphins Today. Now, let's continue on the defensive side of the football with Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker out of Texas A&M, a big 6'3", lengthy product out of the Texas A&M program that really is an appealing prospect because I believe he's a day one starter for this Miami Dolphins team. And when you factor in the fact that Anthony Weaver has said a couple of different times that he's willing to change things up, use multiple style of defenses, something Vic Fangio wasn't able to do. So you add into his disposal so many different athletes, so many different players that can play a multitude of positions and impact the game in a number of different ways. Edgerrin Cooper fits that mold. And in 2023, he had 8 sacks. And this is a guy that can do more than just sack the quarterback. So I like the idea, and you also have to factor in that Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb and possibly Andrew Van Ginkel. We don't know. He's a free agent. Will Andrew Van Ginkel be back? Of course, the injuries with Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. So Edgerrin Cooper is my number 8 on the Dolphins' top 10 big board. Up next, a little bit of a luxury pick, so don't get too mad at me, but Ja'Tavion Sanders, the tight end from Texas, would be an appealing pick because this is an offense. And I said this a couple of videos ago when we talked about signing a free agent tight end. This is an offense that I believe with tight end production, it doesn't even have to be an elite tight end, but a tight end better than Durham Smythe could do so much for this offense. And you look at the tight end depth chart right now for the Dolphins, Durham Smythe, average at best. Julian Hill, a good run blocker, but does nothing in the passing game. And I don't think Tyler Kraft is going to be back at all for the Miami Dolphins. So simply put, I think the Dolphins need to upgrade at tight end at some point. And even if it's not the first round, you look at the top tight ends on Mel Kiper's big board right now. Obviously, Brock Bowers out of Georgia is going to be number 1. But then there's Ja'Tavion Sanders and potentially available late in the first round. Don't forget about Cade Stover from Ohio State and Theo Johnson from Penn State, 2 Big Ten tight ends that might make some noise. And Jared Wiley, kind of that old school tight end. Saw him play against West Virginia for TCU. Jared Wiley, big, tall, physical guy, not as much speed. And again, that old school tight end feel. Eric All was a guy that started his career at Michigan, got beat out, transferred to Iowa with Cade McNamara, and the two of them were going to revolutionize the Hawkeyes offense. That didn't quite happen, but you get the point. There are some tight ends available that maybe if you don't pick one up in the first round that you could snag later in the draft that I still think would be upgrades from Durham Smythe and Julian Hill. All right, we're working our way through this. My 6th best prospect, and one that we've talked quite a bit about on Dolphins Today. In fact, he was interviewed at the Combine today talking about the Dolphins. We've got some content from the NFL Combine thanks to our boys in Indy. Shout out to them. But Laiatu Latu, the number 6 prospect on my big board, because again, this is a proven defensive player in college, a mature player that's played 3 years for UCLA, led the NCAA in sacks, and can play an outside linebacker position, can play an edge rusher, and regarded as arguably the most dominant pass rusher in this draft class, and projects to be somewhere in a mid-first round, but it's the injury concerns that could push him back to later in the first round in that 20s range where the Dolphins could have a chance at drafting Laiatu Latu. And don't forget, he was also the Lombardi Award winner at UCLA. And again, a mature player that's had plenty of time to develop and somebody that Anthony Weaver could certainly elevate and have an impactful role at the next level, a day one starter and an impact player. That's why he's on my big board at number 6. But we've talked a lot of defense. I know there's a glaring need on the offense, on the offensive line. So let me know what you think down in the comments. What's the Dolphins' biggest position of need? Is it outside linebacker? Is it offensive line? I think as I read through the majority of comments, most people are saying it's the offensive line that the Dolphins need to address. And it just so happens this draft class very deep at the offensive line position. Either way, let your voice be heard. And again, it's kind of the elephant in the room when you look at this Miami Dolphins team, that their offensive line wasn't necessarily bad in particular. It was just depleted by injuries. I mean, take a look from left to right. Teron Armstead missed 7 games. Isaiah Wynn missed 8. Connor Williams, season-ending ACL injury on Monday Night Football against the Tennessee Titans. Robert Hunt missed 8 games. Austin Jackson was the model of consistency, but he still missed a game. And the Dolphins used over 12 different starting offensive line combinations, so you know they need some depth. So let's dive into it. My 5th best prospect, Jackson Powers Johnson. Not just a great name, but seems to be a great prospect as well. Very versatile player, athletic offensive lineman, and has the ability to play both center and guard. Now, let's apply this to the Miami Dolphins. Let's say Connor Williams, free agent center, doesn't return. Ergo de facto, maybe drafting Jackson Powers Johnson is the way to go. I love his athleticism, and probably most importantly, his mom follows me on Twitter, so he's a guy I want to see in the aqua and orange. Shout out to Jackson Powers Johnson's mom. All right, Jackson Powers Johnson, also worth noting, the top-rated center if that's the position that he plays it in the NFL. He could play guard, he could play center. He has the athletic versatility to be able to play both, and I have a hunch that this is who the Dolphins are going to take if he's in fact available at 21. So let's put our hypothetical hats on for a second, go back to school, and grade the pick of Jackson Powers Johnson with the Dolphins' 21st overall pick. If this is the direction they decide to go, what grade do you give that pick? A, B, C, D, or F? And hopefully it's an A, just like the Dolphins' NFLPA report card was straight A's. All right, I think this would be an A pick, maybe even an A+, because it's a better option than paying Connor Williams. And that's nothing against Connor Williams, because he was one of the best rated centers by Pro Football Focus and regarded as the 63rd best free agent. So there's some pros and some cons with Connor Williams. Had some bad snaps early in the season. Of course, had the infamous bad snap against the Kansas City Chiefs in the game against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in Germany. And despite his impactful role and positive Pro Football Focus grading, I don't think he's a guy that you throw the bag at, as the kids say, which means pay a lot of money. But there's also the case that maybe he is, because look at this split between the Dolphins' games with Connor Williams and without. 9 games with, 9 games without. And like I said, football's the ultimate team game, but they were 7-2 with Connor Williams starting at center, 4-5 without him. They scored better than 34 points with him, less than 23 without him. And as a team, they only allowed 8 sacks in 9 games with him, and without him in 9 games, 25 sacks allowed. So some pretty drastic splits. And when you see those numbers, I don't think it's wrong to say, look, pay Connor Williams. The Dolphins need Connor Williams. But I also, from my opinion, think Jackson Powers Johnson would be a suitable replacement for Connor Williams at the center position. Plus, it'd be a rookie contract compared to a high-paying contract to Connor Williams. While we're on the offensive line, let's move to Graham Barton from Duke, the Duke Blue Devils. Yes, not the basketball school. That's right. They're a football school now. Graham Barton is a very high-level prospect that the Dolphins could certainly consider late in the first round. And in 2023, he only allowed 2 sacks. When you think about what this guy meant to that Duke Blue Devil team that took such a step forward, he's also a physical-type player. And when you think about the Dolphins as a team overall, nobody talks about the Dolphins as a team that plays with an edge. Graham Barton is a guy that plays with an edge. Here's his draft profile from Draft Network. He's a day one impact starter with consistent all-pro potential, big-time finisher. You love the big-time finishers. Exceptional physical ability, dominant run blocker, potentially and schematically versatile. Wins pass reps with conviction. The profile goes on to say Barton was a really easy prospect to fall in love with. He has a knack for overpowering opponents and displacing defenders with the help of some impressive physical traits. So when I hear that, I think that's a guy that's going to fit in well with the aqua and orange. And again, provide that edge, that physical punch that this Miami Dolphins team seemed to lack at times in 2023, especially down the stretch when they were playing teams that were a little bit better than them. Think of the Chiefs, think of the Bills, whatever, with the Ravens, the list goes on. This Dolphins team needs some mean road graders on the offensive line, and I think Graham Barton is one of those guys. Next up, Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. Big offensive tackle for the Wildcats, who also are coming off an outstanding season. He only allowed 2 sacks in 2023, And Jordan Morgan is 6'5", 325 pounds, and also has that long reach and athletic enough to be, again, a guy that makes an immediate impact on the offensive line for the Miami Dolphins. This is from Bleacher Report on what they had to say about Jordan Morgan, starting with good bulk and thickness. You love the bulk and thickness. Very strong hands and upper body strength. Good burst, ease of movement, and angles as a lead blocker and screens. We know Mike McDaniel loves those screen passes. Climbs and pulls to locate and seal off smaller targets. A 3-year starter at left tackle inside Arizona's balanced run pass split zone based run schemes with 37 career starts. Morgan times the snap well in the run game with good initial quickness out of his stance, can function on an island. So important in the National Football League. Mediocre range leads him to opening his hips early, creating a soft inside shoulder and clean losses across his face. You don't want to lose across your face. Overall, Morgan has the frame, build, play, strength, and physicality to make a smooth transition inside to guard with the initial quickness and burst to be a high-quality run blocker. So again, it's a prospect that has a lot of versatility and somebody that you could plug and play depending on where the Dolphins' holes are, because there's still a question mark at left tackle with Teron Armstead. There's still the ongoing suspicion that he might even perhaps retire because of all the injuries, not to mention if he does give it a go in 2024, you can always count on him missing a couple of games because never once in Teron Armstead's career has he ever completed an entire season. All right, here's where we get a little bit greedy with prospects that I would love to see available at 21. Troy Fautanu out of Washington, a guard that's versatile enough to play multiple positions. He's also a part of that team that went to the national championship before losing to Michigan. Third-team All-American and a big body, 6'4", 317 pounds. I don't know if he'll still be available. I think the Combine will tell us a lot as well, how he performs at the NFL Combine. But if he's there, that's a guy I would love the Dolphins to secure at 21 because, again, just like these other offensive linemen that we've talked, he's a day one starter. Here's his draft profile from The Ringer. Fautanu is tall with a well-built, sturdy frame. He's a quick, light-footed mover who glides into his pass set effortlessly and mirrors skillfully. He forcefully punches. He keeps his feet moving. There are times when Fautanu struggles to sustain blocks all the way through. The whistle, Fautanu is tough and physical and has a versatile skill set. He has the quick feet and movement skills to play left tackle, but the temperament and strength to play at guard. So just as I mentioned, a number of different versatility options there. So of the four offensive linemen we've discussed, I want you to pick one because I think each one of these has their respective strengths and weaknesses. Each one of them represent, in my opinion, a day one starter for the Dolphins. But if it's Jackson Powers Johnson type JP, if it's Troy Fautanu type TF, Graham Barton out of Duke type GB, and Jordan Morgan out of Arizona type JM, either way, let your voice be heard. Now, here's where I'm at with it. If Fautanu falls, I think he's your guy. You take him if he falls all the way to 21. I don't necessarily think he's a guy you trade up for, but if he's available at 21, I would venture to say that's a best player available situation at a position of need, and sometimes you don't want to overthink the room. Now, second on that list for me, Jackson Powers Johnson. Love the name, love the versatility, played for a big-time program. Think he brings an element of toughness and grittiness to the Miami Dolphins that they could certainly need. Now, last but certainly not least, my number one target, the guy, Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. And this is where the line between getting a little bit greedy, being realistic, because in all honesty and actuality, I don't think he's necessarily a guy that's going to be available at 21. And just the same statement with Fautanu, he's not necessarily worth trading up for, but he's one of the most athletically gifted, hard-nosed players in this draft. He's shown a lot of growth in just 2 years at Oklahoma, did not allow a sack in 2023, but there are some things he does need to work on, some consistency elements, but I think there's going to be a team in the top 20 that says Tyler Guyton is our guy, and for that reason, I still have him as my number one pick on the Dolphins' big board, but with the expectation and the understanding that he might not be there at 21. But if he is, go ahead and grab him for the Miami Dolphins. He's a day one starter. Predict it. I want you to let me know your predictions in the comments. What's the percent chance Guyton is on the board at 21? I'm thinking it's less than 50, but I don't want to sway your opinion too much. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you haven't yet, what the hell are you waiting for? Subscribe and join Dolphins Today, and most importantly, become a part of the Noti Gang. It's arguably the most prestigious gang to be a part of. All you have to do, hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, and select all. 3 easy steps that will change your life for the better by becoming a part of the Noti Gang on Dolphins Today. All right, Jack Lauderay, feeling good, feeling lit, feeling right. 5 a.m., summer night, I don't care. Hand on the wheel, driving, I'm doing my thing. We got a February Hall of Fame helmet, Jack. Contain the excitement. Now, our February Hall of Fame helmet, $10 to get on this thing. That's all it costs. Sherry May, send in a $10 super chat, and the sticker is put on instantaneously. That's how much we love you and we care about you here on Dolphins Today. We also have our Dan Marino raffle. It's a Dan Marino bobblehead that will look great as a centerpiece. Maybe you've got a child getting married this summer, and you think, what better way than to send our guests home happy than 500 Dan Marino bobbleheads as a party gift? You can take that idea. You're welcome. You're welcome. We love you and we care about you. Or maybe you want, and you could start with saying, I won this Dan Marino bobblehead on Dolphins Today with a $10 Venmo to @JakeRiepma. Here's our Venmo leader. It's Kristen Reinhart. Our Super Chat scoreboard. Sherry May with a comfortable lead. Super Chatting $25 this month of February. But not to worry, we're extending the giveaways. We're extending the promotions into March. Just like it's a leap year, a little bit longer. We want our promotions to go a little bit longer into the month of March. So there you have it. Tim B and Jay Mortmere are all Herman J. That's my bad. I know Herman. We DM all the time on Instagram. You utilize that direct message function on the Instagram app. JB is at the bottom, but he is on the scoreboard. So there you have it. It's almost mailbag time. And Ask Anything mailbag. Doesn't get much better than that. Use that hashtag Dolphins. What's the hashtag, Riepma? Dolphins. Hashtag Dolphins. And a hashtag is simply the number sign followed by a corresponding text that serves as a link. So when you use that hashtag Dolphins, our system grabs it, puts the questions in the graphic system, and there you have it. Use hashtag Dolphins or Super Chat to get your questions. My good friend Jeremy Chugs, who is in Mexico celebrating, I believe he was getting married. Yes, getting married. Always said the Super Chat is like the Fast Pass at Disney. You skip the line. My nieces and nephew are at Disney right now, and I wonder if they're utilizing the Super Chat. Jack, big Disney guy? Oh, that's good stuff, man. Would you classify yourself as a Disney adult?
Absolutely not.
What differentiates someone that goes to Disney versus a Disney adult?
So I'm a fan of Disney. I like to go to the parks. But
you're an adult.
Yes, but there is a special breed of Disney adults. And if it's a big if you know, you know. I'm not going to discourage Disney adults right now.
That's right. We are in the business of encouraging, not discouraging. I do like the Disney, the Epcot that you can travel around the world. It's gonna be May. Great Justin Timberlake song. Yes, great point. Great point. That's my bad. All right, we got some questions coming in. Firefighter 841, what was your impression on the press conference from last week that McDaniel did? The one earlier in the week at the Combine, I thought Mike McDaniel, I love the guy. Never met him, so that's a weird thing to say. But I think he's a walking, talking, unapologetically himself kind of guy. We saw that on Hard Knocks. And not to say I don't really take anything he says too seriously, but for example, the Christian Wilkins soundbite, he said, yeah, we want good players. We love good players. Well, of course you do. Like, that's not really telling us. And I think McDaniel could teach a master class, especially when addressing the media, of how to say something without saying anything. But we got some great questions coming in. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. All right. Producer Jack says we are good.
Lo-fi anime NFT. Use hashtag Dolphins, and we'll get that question on the show. It's a good question. We'll get it on the show. You got to put hashtag Dolphins in your comment.
Yeah. Got to use that hashtag. Got to use that hashtag. Every noodle, the Mexico part of Epcot is my favorite. Not going to lie. Yeah, the food is good there. Okay. I have heard the food at Disney is good. It's also expensive, but what part of Disney isn't expensive? Everything's expensive in these days. All right. Instructions have registered in between the ears of yours truly. Let's make it happen. Welcome into an Ask Anything Dolphins mailbag. As always, fired up to be with you. And as always, it's an Ask Anything mailbag on a Wednesday. So if you see something that might be a little bit outdated, just move on to the next question. No problems whatsoever. And most importantly, make sure you share this video with not one, not two, not three, but I'm challenging you to share this video with 5 Dolphins friends. I know you've got 5 friends, and I know you've got 5 friends that would benefit from seeing today's episode of Dolphins Today. So share this video, and let's get into it. Our first question from Tim B. says, can you watch the Combine, and so where at? Great question. Lots of different ways to watch, and far and away, the best is on our Chat Sports main channel. We're breaking it down like nobody else can. So if you haven't subscribed to our Chat Sports main channel, make sure you do. That's where all of your content coverage and Combine coverage can be found. And if you want the televised version, that's on NFL Network. I believe Rich Eisen is anchoring the coverage, but the better coverage option, Chat Sports, and of course, Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. We've been posting tons of short clips, interview clips on the channel as well. We've got Chase Sr. down there, Trace Gerard, Sam Brown, Tom Downing, and his producer Chris, whose last name is escaping me. Awesome dude, but Chris Daughtry, that's right. And Harrison Graham, tons of guys from Chat Sports, boots on the ground. We've been referring to them as the boys in Indy. That's right, the boys in Indy are bringing you all the latest from the NFL Combine. So subscribe today. This question from champion_2038. Any new updates on Tua? Funny you ask. Lots of new updates on Tua because Chris Grier, the Dolphins general manager, spoke to the media today. And I will give you the Spark Notes version, a little summary action. Basically, Chris Grier and the Dolphins representation, or Tua's representation, I should say, have had positive conversations that are leading towards a contract extension. They're hopeful that it gets done and still optimistic, but no timetable as of yet. The goal is to have it done before the beginning of next season. This one's coming in from Patrick Starr. Oh, my goodness. He's a star. Patrick Starr. Will the NFLPA rankings help the Dolphins attract free agents? Great question. Yes, and if you weren't with us at the beginning of today's show, the Dolphins scored the best rankings from the NFLPA. The report card looks like one from Jack Lauderay because it's straight A's, my friends. And Stephen Ross received the highest ranking of any NFL owner. Mike McDaniel received an A. All the facilities received A or A- rankings. And according to the president of the NFLPA, the Dolphins and Vikings, but more the Dolphins than the Vikings because the Dolphins had the best, blew everybody else out of the water as far as team or player-friendly places to play, and the Dolphins were far and away, unequivocally, the best team to play for in 2023. So I think free agents are certainly smart enough for that to register as a check in the pro box when evaluating where they want to spend their future in the National Football League. So Miami, warm, great rankings. NFLPA says it's the best organization, great coaching staff. there's so many reasons if I'm a free agent why I'd want to play for Mike McDaniel and the Aqua and Orange. Let me know what you think as it relates to free agents. What free agents should the Dolphins pursue? Lots of good ones out there. We've done tons of different cuts on who the Dolphins should pursue, so make sure you check them out because I think this team could upgrade at a couple of different key positions through the free agency window. And not to worry because the Dolphins are going to clear tons of cap space. They've already cleared a ton by cutting Emmanuel Ogbah and cutting Xavier Howard. I think more cuts are on the way, and we should expect to see some free agent targets when the free agency period starts in March. This one's from Fireman 805. Any news on pursuing a tight end? I wish there was because that's the position I feel most strongly about in which the Dolphins can improve and upgrade at not too expensive of a cost through free agency. My top three: Dalton Schultz, who was originally with the Cowboys, had a couple of good years with them, spent last season with the Houston Texans. Again, a free agent, somebody that I think could certainly help the Miami Dolphins. Hunter Henry, another free agent tight end that I don't think it'd be a huge upgrade over Durham Smythe, but it would be an upgrade. And kind of the wild card in this is Noah Fant, who started with his career in Denver, then played for the Seattle Seahawks, and a guy that huge frame, runs a 4.5 40, showed a lot of promise, but just hasn't really materialized into that NFL star. And maybe Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel's offense is exactly what Noah Fant needs, and I think he'd be an upgrade at the tight end position. This one's coming in from Chucky. Chris Greer, all options being discussed with Christian Wilkins. What do you think will happen? Let me work backwards on this because it's a loaded question with a lot of layers. First and foremost, and most importantly, I think Christian Wilkins is going to be a Dolphin. Now, is that a long-term extension or is that the franchise tag? The two sides reportedly were very, very close last year to a new deal, but in the final hour, Christian Wilkins and his camp wanted a little bit more. Now, what happens? Fast forward through 2023, Christian Wilkins has a breakout year, bets on himself, and Mike McDaniel even said this, that by Christian Wilkins' performance, he's earned the right to be valued as highly as he is and get paid either by the Dolphins or by somebody else. NFL.com did their top 100 free agents, and that's right, Christian Wilkins was number 4 on that list. So certainly highly coveted across the National Football League, and I think the Dolphins are going to find a way to extend him long term because in addition to his on-field performance and what the statistical measures are, there's also the leadership qualities that he brings to the locker room. He plays with an edge. You saw it on Hard Knocks. He is far and away the best vocal leader on that Dolphins defense, and so I think the Dolphins are going to find a way to lock him up long term. But let me know what you think. Where will Christian Wilkins play next season, either with Miami or somebody else? Because as I mentioned, he is one of the most coveted free agents on the list in 2024, and I think if the Dolphins don't pay him or at least franchise tag him, somebody will. Today's Ask Anything Mailbag is presented by Game Time, proud supporter and sponsor of Dolphins Today, and most importantly, the only ticketing app you'll ever need because it's simply the best. They've got flash deals. They've got all-in pricing, so you know exactly what you're going to pay for the ticket. Easy-to-use app with a high-res photo from your seat, so there's no deception. Couple of clicks, and you've got the lowest price to that event guaranteed. And we're not just talking sporting events. Don't forget about your live shows, your concerts, comedy clubs, whatever it is. Game Time is your one-stop shop for all of those. And let me tell you a little bit about those flash deals because it's one of those things that once you see it, it'll change your life. The flash deal pops up, and you know this is the best price to this event, and I'm making it happen even if it's last minute. In fact, Game Time specializes in last-minute ticket deals, guaranteeing the lowest price. What gets better than that? In short, nothing. Nothing gets better than that. So use our promo code FINSCHAT for $20 off. And you might think, how am I going to remember that? Well, don't worry. We'll put it right in the comments and description of today's video. So you got no excuse. Download the Game Time app. Terms do apply. $20 off when you use that promo code FINSCHAT. It's the best seats in the house. Lowest price guaranteed. And this is an even added nugget. As the events gets closer and closer, the tickets get cheaper and cheaper. So it's good for procrastinators like me. Download the Game Time app. Use that promo code FINSCHAT for $20 off on Game Time. Now, question coming in from Firefighter841. What was your impression on the press conference McDaniels did? I started to answer this question a little bit ago and want to revisit what I meant in that Mike McDaniel, he's funny. He's unapologetically himself. I do think the players play for him. He's a little bit unconventional. But when it comes to press conferences, he's going to say and ramble on and kind of be a little bit spacey and not really say anything at all. It'll kind of be something like, that's a really good point that I didn't think of. And now that you say it out loud, what we do, and then he rambles, and you don't really get anything for it. So love Mike McDaniel, offensive wizard, offensive genius, but when it comes to sound bites and what he's going to tell you, he's going to say a lot of things that doesn't really say anything at all. That said, love Mike McDaniel. Question from Every Noodle. How does A.J. Barner sound as our round 5 pick? Not a bad idea. A.J. Barner, tight end, played at Michigan and has that pro-style build, but I think as the combine approaches, and now that we're in the week of the combine, when the tight ends test, that could impact his draft stock because he's more of that old school pro-style tight end that can block and catch passes, which has value certainly, but how many times are we seeing these tight ends essentially be glorified wide receivers? I mean, go all the way back to when Jimmy Graham as a tight end said, no, I'm a wide receiver. Pay me like a wide receiver. I think that seems to be more and more the build of pro tight ends. George Kittle, even though he blocks his ass off, he's one of the best blockers. That's a terrible example. But you get the point. Some of these tight ends are so dynamic as receivers that we lose sight of some of the other responsibilities that a prototypical tight end might have. And I would say A.J. Barner is a guy that really can block pretty well, has that pro-style build. And so if he's still available at the 5th round, I don't hate that pick whatsoever. Now, is that a huge upgrade over Durham Smythe? He would certainly have to prove it on the field. But let's say the way the draft works out, the Dolphins maybe take some offensive linemen early. They add some edge rushers. They add a wide receiver. And then here we are in the 5th round needing to add a tight end. I like that pick. Oh, Ricky Williams is in the comment. What's up, Ricky? Run, Ricky, run. Dolphins want to get Tua extension done before the season starts. Will it happen? I think in a word, yes, it will happen. And as Chris Grier kind of said, there's no exact way to formulate and predict a timeline with all of this. But anytime the general manager and Tua's side has also been vocal about positive conversations happening, and both sides wanting to reach a deal, you got to expect it's going to happen. Now, projecting it, I do think it's going to be a 4-year, maybe about $180 million with $100 of that million guaranteed. There's a lot of different ways to try to evaluate what Tua is worth and what he'll get. Spotrac is a good site for you if you want to check it out yourself, and that's exactly where they're at with it. Somewhere between 4 and 5 years, $180 million, 105 of that $180 million guaranteed. And I don't think Tua necessarily needs to rewrite the record books like Joe Burrow did as far as NFL quarterback contracts are concerned and just about everybody, because he's not quite at that level, but he's a franchise quarterback that you can win with, and extending him long-term is a far better option than taking a flyer on a guy in the draft or maybe trying to sign a free agent. Remember a couple of days ago, we had Joel Klatt's comments that the Dolphins should just start over and draft Michael Penix Jr. I couldn't disagree with that more because I think this Dolphins team is ready to win now. At times, they showed they can be arguably the most prolific offense in NFL history. Yes, they need to perform better against better teams, but the formula and the core and the skeleton of the Dolphins offense is in place. You add a few more pieces to support Tua, improve the offensive line, get a little more production from the tight end, improve the red zone scoring offense, and you're going to be looking good on the offensive side. And notice none of that had anything to do with replacing Tua Tagovailoa. But I want your one-word reaction to a potential Tua extension because I read the comments. I like most of them. I hate some of them. And a lot of the comments around Tua Tagovailoa will say how much he's terrible and how much he stinks at quarterback, and I just don't think that's the case. And maybe you think a free agent signing, a guy like Kirk Cousins, and so on and so forth is a better option, But let's not forget the learning curve with Mike McDaniel's offense and the implementation time it would take. Tua and Mike McDaniel are on the same page. Look at the numbers. Led the NFL in passing yards, second most yards per attempt. He was tied for fourth in touchdown passes, third highest QBR. Tua has proven himself statistically. Now it's a team game, and it's about, as a team, as an organization, making some noise in the postseason in 2024 for the Miami Dolphins. Want to remind you to hit that subscribe button for all of your Miami Dolphins coverage. We continue to grow and continue to build this Miami Dolphins audience, which we love to see. You got to subscribe to the channel and turn those notifications on so you don't miss a thing. I'm up 24 hours a day thinking, how can I bring more Dolphins content? That's the type of dedication you get on Dolphins Today, and that's why you subscribe. Check out some of our coverage from the Combine as we get closer and closer to the NFL Draft. I can promise you this, my vocal cords will go tired, but I will not quit. My chest might feel tight, but I will not quit in providing the Dolphins coverage. All right, this question's coming in from Lofi Enemy NFT. Is it time to move on from Chubb if we are all in? Assuming you mean Bradley Chubb, who suffered that season-ending torn ACL. I got to level with you, Lo-Fi, sorry. No, it is not time to move on. Bradley Chubb is still a dynamic edge rusher that can wreak havoc on the opposition. He's a guy that had a breakout year last year, over 11 sacks. He's a guy that the opposition has to game plan around. A ton of quarterback hurries, a ton of quarterback pressures, led the NFL in forced fumbles for a period of time. I can't remember if he finished leading the NFL in forced fumbles because he did miss the last couple of games with that injury. But Bradley Chubb is a guy you build around on the defensive end. On the defensive side, there's a reason Chris Grier and the organization gave up so much to get Bradley Chubb, because he is an elite pass rusher in the National Football League. This question from Sherry May. What do you think about coaches blowing off the combine? I think they don't care about their job. That's what I think. I think blowing off the combine is inexcusable. And if NFL coaches don't want to be at the combine, why even have it? So that is interesting. Jack, have you heard of any of the coaches not showing up to the combine?
Pretty sure Mike McCarthy's not there.
Mike McCarthy not there. Interesting. So that's good stuff, Sherry May. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. I can't imagine not being at the biggest event to evaluate the future of your team, of your organization. So very, very interesting. I'm glad Mike McDaniel's there. I think there's a lot of value to it. I don't think it's the end-all, be-all like some people do, but hey, I think you should be there if you're a head coach. All right, G-Fet Jake. Hey, my name's Jake. That's good stuff. Who do you think the Dolphins will draft the number 21 spot? Okay, gun to my head, they're taking somebody combined with who I think is going to be available. I'll say Jackson Powers-Johnson. He is in the middle of my big board because the Dolphins need offensive line, and I think he's very, very talented. I think he's very versatile. If there are better offensive line prospects, and some of this might change after the combine, Troy Fautanu out of Washington's an interesting proposition, and Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma, also interesting. And I think some of the really highly rated guys like Joe Alt, they're going to go top 10. So unless the Dolphins trade up for them, no chance they're getting them. But Jackson Powers-Johnson just feels like the guy to me because he might be available and really, really good. All right, be the GM for me. Who should the Dolphins pick at number 21? Let your voice be heard. Love reading the comments on this because I'm so curious. Jackson Powers-Johnson is my guy if the draft were to happen today, but a lot can change. We reserve the right to change our opinion with new information and when it becomes available. As a reminder, share today's video, and if you've got a friend that's a Dolphins friend or a friend of a friend, or maybe a friend's, cousin's, dog sitter's uncle that's a Dolphins fan, share the video with them because we want to continue to grow our Dolphins Today channel. All right. We got to remind you about our February promotions that are being extended into March. That's right. The good news keeps on coming because this Dolphins Hall of Fame helmet can be the centerpiece for one lucky Dolphins Today subscriber. I should have mentioned that. You got to be a subscriber to win any of our raffle items. So here's how this one works. $10 gets your name on the helmet. We already got people with their name on the helmet. When it's all said and done, every single sticker on this helmet will count as a raffle ticket, and one lucky winner will go home. So like anything, the more raffle tickets, the better chance you have of winning this Dolphins Today helmet. That's our Hall of Fame helmet. Our Venmo giveaway is this Dan Marino bobblehead. And let me check my Venmo and see if we've got any Venmos coming in. We do not, but $10 for a Dan Marino bobblehead. Also a great centerpiece. Looks great in any fan cave as well. And who doesn't love Dan the Man Marino and those luscious locks? Who wants Dan Marino bobblehead? $10 for a raffle ticket, and we will raffle it off. Here's our Super Chat scoreboard, or just the scoreboard in general. Our Venmo leader is Kristen Reinhardt, and Sherry May leads the way for the month of February with $25. As well, in second place, Tim B. and Herman J. both tied at 10. JB with 5. So there you have it. Let me know what and how you want to join Dolphins Today's February and March giveaways and promotions and get your name on this helmet. Because we are your one-stop shop for all things Miami Dolphins. That's right. All things Aqua and Orange. All things Mike McDaniel. All things Chris Greer. Wake up, Dolphins fans. Wake up. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got a countdown on, so last chance to get in on the action for this authentic replica Dolphins helmet. Tua himself for it. So for the next 90 seconds, I'm going to try and see if I can fit this on over my headphones. Doesn't look like I can. We're not going to do that. Ooh, Jack. Did you see the comment from Sherry May? You're in trouble. Oh, Jack's in trouble. Jack's in trouble. We love you, Jack. Sherry May, we love you. I appreciate it. I could hear the tone of Sherry May's voice, and it was the nicest way. You spelled her name wrong. Sherry May, on behalf of Jack Lauderay, I am so sorry. We love you. There we go. We love you. We care about you here on Dolphins Today. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. That's a long day. Jack's been here for 11. I told you, you look up Grinder in the dictionary, you see a picture of Jack Lauderay. When I think of iconic efforts in sports, I think of Michael Jordan's flu game. I think of Reggie Miller scoring 8 against the New York Knicks. And I think of Jack Lauderay during Combine Week. All right, that's going to do it. GFET Jake says he wants in. You got a super chat. $10 super chat. We will extend the show for another 2 hours until we get more super chats. Jack, Sherry says thank you. I will sleep on this camera until we get another super chat. I've been told we are ending the show. All right. We love you guys. We care about you. Thanks for tuning in for Dolphins Today. It's always a pleasure to be on the air. However you're joining us, thanks for making Dolphins Today a part of your day. Get out there, do some speed ladders, do some Oklahoma drills, some 40-yard dashes so that we can feel like we're a part of the combine. Love you guys, and we'll see you next time on Dolphins Today!